use you as don't let the reverend turn you fool. Don't let him use you as a tool. Or in God, in the body. Send him here to rid the land and him come to me like a simpleton, holding the Bible in his hand. Why don't you tell the people the truth? Why don't you tell the people the truth? Why don't you tell the people the truth? Get rid of people from the room. Tell them your God is in Vatican and send you here to rid the land and come to me like a simpleton, holding the Bible in your hand. Welcome. Tell them your God is in Vatican. Send you here to rid the land. Come to me like a simpleton, holding the Bible in your hand. Why don't you tell the people the truth? Why don't you tell the people the truth? Why don't you tell the people the truth? Greetings. Welcome. Metamorphosis. This is the Metamorphosis. Dr. Hyman Block, coming to you through the Conscious Movement Studios, Mars 42 Studio, East Rural St. Andrew in Jamaica. We give thanks for the opportunity to connect to this medium at a time when the world is in its own topsy-turvy condition. The motivation behind this particular broadcast is being driven by a most current event. Most current means happened yesterday, happening the day before, is current. And it has grabbed the attention of the world, the whole media, and it has brought forward for Hyman an opportunity to explore and examine certain institutions that are established in the global order by colonizers, Europeans. What do these institutions hold for Black people in general? So this broadcast now is being triggered by the expiration of the Vicar of Christ. Now you'll hear me use this term quite often, the Vicar of Jesus and the Vicar of Christ. V-I-C-A-R, Vicar. It's one of those terms that we need to investigate and see how this particular institution has been influencing the lives of Black people and continue to enslave the mind of the African. The Vicar of Christ has died. The Vicar of Christ has expired. And the world gathered to show their feelings towards this man who served 88 years of earth time. And in the last of his years, he was actually the Pope. So the Pope has expired. And the Pope holds the title of the Vicar of Christ. And I want African people now to look into this title, what it means in the real world, and what it means in the world of the Spirit. The Vicar of Christ. Earthly representation. The meaning of Vicar. The earthly representation of Jesus Christ. Now, this is a deep and profound title to put on a man. And the interesting thing about this title and this man is that this man has expired, but the power, we're going to realize, does not really reside in the man himself, because many men have passed through the office of the Pope. So I want to bring to the front now that office. What is that office of the Pope? What is the papacy? And how has the papacy influenced African people and continue to influence black people? Yeah, the papacy. What is it? How do the powers of the papacy work? And why is it when the Pope expires, there is so much politicking? Because in real terms, a new Pope is voted for. So let us remember now, it is the Vicar of Christ that is being put into the office through politics. It's voting for the person who's the earthly representation of Jesus Christ. Now to African people, who is Christ? Or what is Christ? That a man can be the physical, earthly representation of that thing that you hold to be Christ. What is Christ? So if you look on the papacy, how did African people get connected to this popedom? Because the media report tells us that this man is a spiritual leader of 1.5 billion people. Billion, not a M, billion people. And I want how many, if not more than half of that billion, is African people, is black people. And it's not necessarily that they are Catholic, but they are under the influence of the Bible, which was put out by the Catholics, the Roman Catholic Church. So this death of this Pope, first thing you have to realize as a people that the individuals die, but in the offices the power remains. And the power of the papacy goes far back to the early days and the formation of Rome. And if people are aware of Rastafari's resistance to oppression, the major target of that oppression was Rome. And Rastaman used to burn Rome and burn the Vatican. Fire upon the Vatican, blood for the Pope. Because the Vatican, which is the richest city in the world, has its own army, its own postal system. It's a government within a state. It's called the Holy See, S-E-E. We have to know what this thing is about, and where the power comes from. So the Vatican is a home base for the Pope. And the Vatican, in the eyes of the European development, is really the mediator for disputes between European nations. So let us look at the Vatican in a couple of examples, how it manifests itself among African people, All the Vatican touch black people. The Vatican, of course, is the center of Rome. And Rome, as an empire and as a set of colonizers, they invaded Ethiopia. Where rather they invaded Egypt. And Rome conquered Egypt. We can put it about 50 years or so before the Christian era. The Roman Empire rose up out of the ashes of the Greek Empire until they became one of the forces that would invade Egypt at the end of the reign of Cleopatra. So Rome coming to the front by 200 or so years in the year of the Lord. And the Roman Empire would have at its centerpiece the Catholic Church. Black people need to know where this papal power coming from and what it has done to us, and how is it so many of I and I belong to this faith. So the papacy, carrying the philosophy of Rome. So even though Rome was conquered militarily, Rome remained a powerful force through religion. So the Roman Catholic Church brought us this Bible. Yes, the original Bible that they give us that has English in the 1600s is the Roman Catholic Church. Because at that time it's just a church of Rome. When they tell us about history in the Caribbean, they like to tell us about 1494 and Columbus' arrival in the region. But they don't tell us sometimes that in 1494, Portugal and Spain, they were at war, fighting over the land that they had captured and colonized. And the Pope intervened. The Treaty of Tordesillas. And the Pope decided to split the world between Spain and Portugal. When the Europeans now got more organized and decided to invade to capture melanin-based people as prisoners of war, the Pope gave the invaders the blessings that they needed and contributed to the philosophy that African people were soulless beings. Black people never have any soul. And what the Christians were bringing was something called a Christian soul. And they would not stop until they inject that Christian soul in all Africans. Once you're injected with that Christian soul, you become docile. And you don't become a servant of the Lord. So the Roman Catholic philosophy is deep right across Africa. Where is not the Roman Catholic is Islam. So the Bible now becomes the foundation text. You see, so when the Vatican looks as a leader, the grip that the Vatican have on the globe doesn't shift. The politics may shift because now there's a cry for not only a pope from the south, but they want a pope that may come from the Southeast Asia now. Let us be aware that over the history of the papacy, Africans have been popes in the history of time. So the issue is not the Pope himself. The issue is the office. And we see what happened now at the death of the Pope. How so many world leaders have gathered. It's a political gathering because the Pope is a politician. And religion and politics are twins. I must observe, the way we've been observing from the COVID climates. All these people operate and where the power really rests. So part of the liberation then of African people is to get this religion thing out of our consciousness, of a purge yourself. Because the Roman Catholic Church that presented that Bible, which is a Roman Bible, it was challenged by the Protestants, and so we got the version by King James. And then we get the Church of Rome versus the Church of England. Both of them Europeans, both of them capturing and conquering and enslaving. So none of these religions have tried to renounce cattle slavery. The Roman Catholic Church and them team was upfront. They gave their blessings to the conquerors. And so when we're fighting for reparations, it can't be just about the countries, it must be also directed to the Vatican. Yeah, the Vatican have all of the wealth. The Vatican is the mental, psychological controllers. You imagine one man die and influencing over 1.5 billion people, all through the story of Jesus the Christ, where African people are in the belief system that there was a man named Jesus Christ who was born, who would never have any sex, and he is the one who has come to remove the sins of Cain and Abel. Look at that mirage. And so most Africans are still caught up in the Bible stories with the belief that Jesus Christ is a savior, and ignoring the construct that Christ is a title. Christ is never a person. And our own history shows us about Imhotep, the original title holder, father of medicine, architect, poet, father, everything. Imhotep, the original Christ. The great construct of Christ is that it is somebody who is anointed. So there's nothing wrong with being anointed, just by whom? So we have to get out of this locked into version of this Christ that holds us to be slaves. Now we're still hoping for Christ to be a redeemer. And Christ is our leader and everything is Christ. So enough people not into the Jesus, but them holding on to the Christ concept. And that is where the Pope and all of those other people now have them control, because these men calling themselves the earthly representation of the same Christ that you're holding on to, that they gave to you. So look at it. So now, we just celebrate, come out of the Easter, where the Jesus Christ was crucified and ascended to heaven with his Father. And then here comes the representative of him on earth who has now died. So the Jesus is in heaven waiting, sitting by his Father's side, and his representative on earth has just died. So somebody is now representing now Jesus while them up there, so they may vote. You check it out. It's politics now. We're using some intelligence to explore the power of the Vatican and the Pope and his hold on the minds of 1 billion people through the Christ story. And that this Christ was born in a manger through pure mystery to a young girl who was unwedded and get sperm force up in her. That she delivered a child who have one set of DNA lacking chromosomes. It's an allegory. And it's been exposed in current times. We can look right through the Vatican. We can look right through the powers of the Pope. The Pope was, as an office, was instrumental in bringing down the Berlin Wall. The Pope joined forces with NATO and the United States and helped with the Solidarity movement, and the Pope being a Polish, and they had to bring down the Berlin Wall. So these institutions are political, even though they are covered in a club of religion. They're the Vatican. So Rastaman burned the Vatican from them time there. And we say fire upon Rome. But we get a big misguided now and trying to chant down Babylon. And Babylon is the most one of the ancient empires of African black people, giving the world astronomy as a complete science. So we have to refocus and allow Babylon, make Babylon be part of our knowledge base. And remember that the enemy is not Babylon, but institution that led slavery and that is still here collecting tithes and still running the world, still have its own army. There's the Vatican, Rome. So though Greece fell, And Rome fell. Rome never fall totally. Them fall militarily and them fall economically, but politically, through ecclesiastics orders, Rome still run the place. So I can recognize that the Christ story must be put where it belongs, within the context of an allegory. I want to free myself from that desire now to be baptized. Because the baptism now is a ritual that traps our meditation and identity. Once we want to go through baptism, it means we have surrendered the original will and desire and imagination of the black original man. Total surrender to a slave mentality and hope and fear. So we can still make the choice. Traore has made the choice. It is homeland or death. We have to make a choice. It's either the philosophy of Marcus Garvey, but we cannot continue to hold on to the philosophy of Jesus. Yes, we have to jettison the Jesus Christ philosophy and begin to embrace the philosophy of Marcus Messiah Garvey. Straightforward. Yes, metamorphosis. Exploring this whole worldwide incident that orchestrated, look very orchestrated. They must carry him to the east and put him to rest on the Monday. So as soon as the celebrations over the resurrection, here comes the Pope. The Pope is now resurrected as well. The Pope is supposed to represent the original Bishop of Rome, you know, the first Bishop of Rome. That is the office. And that first bishop was supposed to be Peter, the brother that tell about in the Bible. So Peter's supposed to be the first Rome, first Pope. And after him, now everybody has come up the line and they represent that order. African people, we don't know that. We don't know nobody named Peter. More than Peter Peckle because of his pickles. And we know some Peter Piper story. We don't know nobody in our language named Peter. That this sound can be the foundation of our entire religious movement. That's where the Catholic and the Roman and the Bible get them strength. Out of Peter. Peter's supposed to be some rock. But I don't think it's granite. Because granite is what is used to build the pyramids. And they are endurable over time. And I know where the Peter story come from. So all those things are locked up in the Vatican. And though you may not claim to be followers of the Vatican is following you. Yeah, the philosophy of the Vatican planted in our brains from Sunday school. Where there is a Father, a Son, and a Holy Ghost, and the Son is always Jesus. And you have man who fights him, never named Jesus, the name Yahshua, but they're still fighting for an identity that is not real. So we have to use the opportunity and look how Traore is changing the meditation of African people. We have to do it also in the decolonizing of God. You have to decolonize the mind, you have to decolonize God, you have to decolonize the Bible. Yeah, so the Pope is no longer here, but in another 2 weeks there will be a new Pope. And the same tradition goes on. In the place like Jamaica, there's a church who control vast amount of the lands. They call it church lands. Lands that were captured from the days of the original enslavement by the English. Church things come into the country, sometimes I think tax-free. Yeah, and church is collecting tithes. The institution established to maintain control. Hold your money. Take away your money. It's not a bank, it's an extractor. And you can pay for the penance. Catholic Church used to tell you could go to church and pay money and get your sins removed. It's a business. It still is. Yeah, so metamorphosis. I'm looking at the Pope down. Them shot one already, I think. One resigned, first time in history. The gay movement is trying to invade the church, and the church trying to hold them off. And it's getting more and more difficult. But Donald Trump has come and put a full stop And says there's two gender, male and female, everybody else have a backup. So the Catholic Church supposed to hold that as a foundation because they are the ones who told us about Mary and Joseph. So maybe there's more to it than that. Yeah, so you can give me a link on Facebook. You can give me a link on email, iblak@yahoo. You can also support the channel. Yes, you can subscribe to the channel as the channel tries to grow itself. So we're going out early. Max Romeo is the man. Yes. So, metamorphosis, brief. We're challenging the whole institution called the papacy. And recognizing that it has been at the front of colonization and slavery. And it also brought about the ideology of black people being inferior because black people had no soul. And with no soul, we could be classified as subhuman and cattle. Yeah, it is the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Church, that had a lot to do with creating that identity and impose it upon black people. So it's interesting and curious to see how Africans are being so caught up in the celebration of the Pope. I remember in my early days in the Catholic Church when the Pope was almost, what's it called, thing that the Pope was what they call infallible. Yeah, the Pope can't make any mistakes because he was a representative of Jesus. So there's no way Jesus could be viewed from our eyes as a black youth because the Pope was always lily white. Never see a Chinese Pope yet because the Chinese not interested in that mythology. Yeah, China is interested in the mythology of Moses and Jesus and all of these characters that are in the King James Version of their life. So we have to see the thing for what it is. So whether you're Methodist or Pentecostal or what in a derivative of Christianity, you're coming out of the head. The head is the Roman Church. Can I escape that? So you're holding on to Roman ideology that starts with in the beginning. And from that in the beginning, you are captured. And you're led right through Moses, through the desert, right out of the old into the new, into the Jesus. And then you find the physical no representation of Jesus in the Vatican. You check that. That is a high scam. So we have to leave Vatican City. Yeah, man, we have to leave Vatican. It will be an exodus out of the Vatican and into our own lands and put the value on our own resources and see the Vatican don't dry up. The richest city, Vatican City. I mean, black people don't even know what's going on. So we could think about how much we are contributing to sustaining that city. Where all them Jews that come from and things in a Vatican City. It's somewhere in Italy, where those resources come from that put up the Vatican. We want the owners who think them own it step up. Yeah, man. We know where a lot of the stuff come from in Europe already, you know, in the museum, and we know where it come from. But the Vatican wealthy man. reparations to be directed to the Vatican, not those governments who complaining about laws and what was not law. The Vatican is supposed to be the seat of moral principles and compass of compass. So we could put it to them. Wasn't that an unjust and illegal and wicked act? That prisoners of war were turned into cattle. Yeah, there are laws of war, you know. And what they did to African people was turn prisoners into cattle, branding people. So it's like the Russians them capture the Ukrainians them and decide to brand them and turn them into slaves. What would be the response to the rest of the world? Is that what we China as African people? So we will awaken ourselves out of the zombie state and begin to stop expose our children to baptism. A wicked act, a ritual that condemns you for life. Yes, and you can commit yourself to something that you can't fulfill. So give people a chance. Give yourself a chance. Free up your children from that baptism and ritual. Free them up from that Christ name. Where you're giving them a Christ name without even giving them a name that is indigenous to them power. So Christ name and baptism, two serious rituals that we have to revisit. We revisit that in the Black Sunday School. But for this broadcast, it's about the Vatican and the Pope. I know black people are so connected to the Vatican City, not knowing that that city is the belly of the beast in the religious world. It's them come and lead the captivity. And it's them define we are soulless. They define black as sin. If I run left them, just like everybody rising up to get them own identity now because of the tariffs. Them African people now withdraw money from the Vatican, or withdraw money from the Catholic Church, and see where the finances would go if it wouldn't be beneficial going into black people's business. Yes, tariff, yeah man, make us stop pay taxes to them institution there. Hold on for money. Yeah, so I like that for this session. Yeah, trying to find the music, you know, but because that's happening. Not happening at all. Okay.
This was the last time I'm saying it, so y'all better pay attention. There's a simple way to start bringing in cash, and all it takes is a Wi-Fi connection and 3 clicks. No complicated setups, no special skills, just a quick trick most folks don't know about. The big companies sure ain't gonna tell you, because it cuts into their profits. But that don't matter, because it's working right
now. Yeah, still trying to find Max Romeo. Yeah, fire up in the Vatican. It's the blood upon the Pope, man. Who said that? Revelation said that. All right. One more try.
But that don't matter, because it's working right now. Want to see how? Tap below and what?
All right, this is it. Max Romeo.
Fighting against humanity.
Yeah, after man from the Inception. A bonfire from the Vatican. Yeah, I got the song for the occasion. welcome. Metamorphosis. This is a metamorphosis. Okay, I'm not coming to you. New Conscious Movement Studios. Mars 42 Studio. East New Orleans, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Thanks for the opportunity to connect to this medium at a time when the world is in its own topsy-turvy condition. The motivation behind this particular broadcast is being driven by a most current event. Most current means happened yesterday, happened the day before. It's current. And it has dropped the attention of the world media. And it has brought forward for Iman an opportunity to explore and examine certain institutions that are established in the global order by colonizers, Europeans. What do these institutions hold for Black people in general? So this broadcast now is being triggered by the expiration of the Vicar of Christ. When you ever use this term quite often, the Vicar of Jesus and the Vicar of Christ. V-I-C-A-R, Vicar. It's one of those terms that we need to investigate and see how this particular institution has been influencing the lives of Black people and continue to enslave the mind of and I want to continue. Welcome. Metamorphosis. This is the metamorphosis. Okay, I'm not coming to you. New Conscious Movement Studios. Mars 42 Studio. East New Orleans, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Thanks for the opportunity to connect to this medium at a time when the world is in its own topsy-turvy condition. The motivation behind this particular broadcast is being driven by a most current event. Most current means happened yesterday, happened the day before. It's current. And it has dropped the attention of the world media. And it has brought forward for Iman an opportunity to explore and examine certain institutions that are established in the global order by colonizers, Europeans. What do these institutions hold for Black people in general? So this broadcast now is being triggered by the expiration of the Vicar of Christ. When you ever use this term quite often, the Vicar of Jesus and the Vicar of Christ.
Vicar, Vicar. It's one of those terms that we need to investigate and see how this particular institution has been influencing the lives of Black people and continue to enslave the mind of the African. The Vicar of Christ has died. The Vicar of Christ has expired. And the world gathered to show their feelings towards this man who served 88 years of earth time. And in the last of his years, he was actually the Pope. So the Pope has expired. And the Pope holds the title of the Vicar of Christ. And I want African people now to look into the title, what it means in the real world, what it means in the world of the Spirit. The Vicar of Christ. Earthly representation, the meaning of Vicar. The earthly representation of Jesus Christ. Now, this is a deep and profound title to put on your mind. And the interesting thing about this title, this man, is that this man has expired, but the Pope, we're going to realize, does not really reside in the man himself, because many men have passed through the office of the Pope. So I want to bring to the front now that office. What is that office of the Pope? What is the papacy? And all the papacy influence African people and continue to influence African people in the papacy. What is it? How does the papacy work? And why is it that the Pope expires? There's so much fighting regarding the returns that the Pope is voting for. So let us remember now, it is the Vicar of Christ that he put into the office through politics. So voted for the person who is the earthly representation of Jesus Christ. Now to African people, who is Christ? Or what is Christ? But a man can't be the physical representation of that thing that to be Christ. What is Christ? So look at the papacy. Because the report tells us that this man is a spiritual leader of 1.5 billion people. Million people. And how many is not more than half of Black billion. It's not necessarily that they are Catholic, but they are under the influence of the Bible, which was put out by the Roman Catholic Church. So this end of this Pope, first thing you have to realize are people that the individuals die, but in the offices power remains. And this goes far back to the early days and the formation of the world. And if people are aware of Rastafari's resistance to oppression, the major target of that oppression was the Rome. Rastaman is born Rome and born the Vatican. By the Vatican, so to the Pope. Because the Vatican, which is a richest city in the world, has its own army, its own postal system, is a government within a state. So the Holy See, FTE. We have to know what this thing is about, where the power comes from. So the Vatican is a home base for the Pope. And the Vatican, in the eyes of the European development, is really the mediator for disputes between European nations. So let us look at the Vatican in a couple of examples, how it manifests itself among African people, how the Vatican touch black people. The Vatican, of course, is the center of Rome, and Rome, as an empire, as a set of colonizers, they invaded Ethiopia, rather they invaded Egypt. And Rome conquered Egypt. We can put it about 50 years or so before the Christian era. The Roman Empire rose up out of the ashes of the Greek Empire. And so they became one of the forces that will invade Egypt at the end of the reign of Cleopatra. So Rome coming to the front, started 400 or so years in the year of the Lord. And the Roman Empire will have a centerpiece because of the church. Here is paper for what it does on those. How we saw the and they will get out 60. So the paper says, carrying the philosophy of Rome. So in Rome was conquered in the 30s. Rome being a whole religion. So the Roman Catholic Church follows this Bible. Yes, original Bible that they give us that has English 60%. The Roman Catholic Church. Because at that time it was the Church of Rome. When they tell us about history in the Caribbean, they tell us about 1494 and Columbus arrival in the region. But they don't tell us sometimes that in 1494, Portugal and Spain, they were at war, fighting over lands that they had captured by the and the Pope intervened, changed their currency, and the Pope decided to skip over between Spain and Portugal. When the Europeans got more organized and started to invade capture United people as vessels of war, the Pope gave them the blessings that they needed. And contributed to the philosophy that African people were soulless beings. Black people were not very soul. Or the Christians were very Muslim. Something called a Christian soul. And then I stop until they inject that Christian soul in all Africans. Once you're injected in that Christian soul, you become docile. And you don't become a servant of the Lord. So the Roman Catholic philosophy right across Africa. We're not Roman Catholic kingdom. So the Bible knows the things we don't need like things. And so, get the Vatican. This is very good. We bring the Vatican about the world of the ship. Politics nations. Because no things are crying for not for the hope from the soul, they want to hope that they will go from the Southeast Asia. Let us be aware of the history of people in Africa that folks in the history of time. But the issue is not the Pope itself. The issue is the office. I will see what happened in the name of the Pope. So many world leaders have gathered. The political gathering about the Pope and the politician. And religion and politics are twins. I was observing, doing the observing of the Pope examines. For these people operating under the overrated rest. So part of the liberation in African people is getting this religion thing. Look at just the poor yourself. Because the Church of England. Go to their Europeans. Go to their capturing and conquering and enslaving. There's not many religions outside of renounce and slavery. The Roman Catholic Church and the people up front, they gave their blessings to the conquerors. And so we're fighting for our provisions. We can't just about the countries because they also directly to the Vatican. The Vatican of all the world. The Vatican is a big psychological control. Imagine one man die and influencing over 1.5 million people. All from the story of Jesus Christ. The African people are in the belief system that there was a man named Jesus Christ who was born who never already sex. And he is the one who was born to move the city of even him. Look at that mirage. And so most Africans are still caught up in the Bible stories with the belief that Jesus Christ is the Savior. And ignoring the construct that Christ is a title, Christ is never a person. What this story shows us about 9 or 10, the original title, hold it up. Father of medicine, architect, poet, father of everything, 9 or 10, the original Christ. The main construct of Christ is that it is somebody who's anointed. So nothing wrong with being anointed, just like that. So we're learning how that is plugged into the version of this Christ that knows us. So it says, I was saying, forming of Christ to be our redeemer. And Christ is the leader and everything is Christ. So things are in the chamber, but they're holding on to the Christ concept. And that is very cool, and all the other people know how they control God. And they call it themselves the representation of the same Christ that you holding on to. At the end to you. So look at it. So let us celebrate the Easter where the Jesus Christ was crucified and ascended. Ascending to heaven with his Father. And then here comes the representative of him on earth. What about dying? So the Jesus is heaven waiting. By his Father's side. And it's representing the under that's just died. So somebody in November representing Jesus riding up here to the rainbow. We'll take it over. Other things come. Using some intelligence to explore the core of the Vatican and the whole other mind about many activities through Christ's story. But that is Christ was born in an angel, from pure mystery, to a young girl who was unwitting, and get sperm force up in her. The hand of that child who once in an alien, knocking chromosome. It's an allegory. And it's been exposed in foreign times. During the right in the Vatican. The right to the cause of the Pope. The Pope was not an office of instrument that they bring it on the early water. The Pope joined forces with NATO and the United States. And we decided directly to movement that Pope being a coalition and they had to bring it on the early water. And these institutions are political. We have probably done job of religion. We have Vatican. The rest of my boys Vatican from their time. It was a firepower role. But look at me. This guy didn't know what Chinese on from Babylon. Babylon is the most ancient empire of African drug people. Every word that's together. Complete science. So the rainforest. I know Babylon make Babylon be part of our knowledge base. I remember that the enemy is not Babylon, but institution that led slavery and the stay here collected tithes. The slavery in the world, slavery in the army. Vatican, Rome. So don't praise them. I don't say I want to all totally for painter for economic value. When anybody to justice orders, rules still on the rules. So I recognize that the Christ story was very good in the context of a money word. You know, trying to set up on that desire to be baptized. That baptism is going to reach that trust the one we do. One about being cross already done. You know, we so that's already done. Trust the mentality more here. So we can still make a choice. You got some worry has been the choice. Is moving on to our kids. We have to make a choice. And the philosophy of Marcus Garvey, but we can continue to hold on to the philosophy of Jesus. Yes, the Jesus Christ philosophy, we need to embrace the philosophy of Marcus Garvey. Straightforward. Yes, and also for this whole word by incident, orchestrated, very orchestrated, but there was carried to me Sunday from the doors that come there. So soon as the celebration of the resurrection, here comes the hope. The hope is called resurrected as the hope was represented over the bishop of moving on, the first bishop of moving. At the office. And that first bishop was supposed to be Peter, further than it was in the Bible. So Peter's supposed to be the first rule, the first hope. And after he knew everybody else come up to die, and then he go to say, they not all I know. After that, people ran there, they don't know nobody is Peter. But Peter, you know, because they can take a lot of it. So it goes in. Peter fight a story of nobody down between Peter. That is something that they don't use about the entire religious movement. That's why it's Catholic and the woman that the Bible in the soul was a Peter. Peter supposed to be some rock. But I don't want to take this granite. The granite is what they use of the pyramids. And they are in the roof over time. They know where the Peter story comes from. So I was saying that after everybody done. But no one made it seem to be followers of the Vatican, and is following. So that's okay, the Vatican plan in our very from service. The years of Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, and the Son and God is Jesus. I have one of my saying that again, Jesus is being Yahshua, what is the Bible for handing in that in that room. Also, the covenanting of God. Covenant of Michael, covenant God, covenant of Bible. There's no longer here, but then it's going to that. The same tradition goes on. The case like Jamaica. It's a church who comes to a glass of all governments. They call it church God. China no chapter of the beginning of the original statement by the church keeps coming to the bunches of that and the pastor. Yeah, church collecting tithes. Like institution established to maintain control over your money. Take over your money. There's an amount, an extractor. You can pay for your penance. The church take the church of the money and get the same before. That makes sense. Steady. Yeah, so I'm in the offices. Looking at a book now. Shot early, I think. By the time, first time in history. The game movement is trying to engage the church, and the church trying to put them out. And we someone who got full stuff. So everybody in the pub. So they got any church, I was really that. The other ones for those area. So was it. So we just want to take that down. Yeah, so happy day. I think so. And also support the China. Yes, yeah, subscribe to China. China tries to go and say. So, that analysis is brief. The challenge you go with is a jump shot guard capacity. I recognize that never from the overhead people understand that. And also brought about the idea of not being in the area. Because that also, also the testified of sort of more capture. They together in church, the Roman Catholic Church, another Latin who create that identity and impose them on platform. So it's interesting that I'm curious to see how Africans are being so brought up in the same version of the book. And then when I'm in the early years, yeah, in church, the book was a God, I think that the book was like a God incredible. In the book, you know, in the mystics of God, you really represent about Jesus. That's the only thing that's going on with the whole idea that I've got to do. The God is going on in anyway. Never said Chinese school good. Now the Chinese not interested in that mythology. They're not interested in the mythology of Moses and Jesus and all the characters that are being going on here. So we have the same thing called the so even if it's our Pentecost, but they didn't really give up Christianity. You're going over there, and there's no one church. Yeah, let's get that. Yeah, we're going to go to the whole one. Let's start with the evening. From that evening, you're captured. And you're in the right towards the truth, there's a right for the whole individual within Jesus. Then you will find the physical and all representation of Jesus in the Vatican. Check that. And then I scam. So the meaning Vatican City. Vatican. Then the Exodus goes up the Vatican. And then the whole world with the Vatican all resources. I see the Vatican doing that. Regional City. Vatican City. And copy the so I don't think of almost very actually the sophisticated taxi. We are in pools of road property in a Vatican taxi. So we're not we're not the sources come from. That's what the Vatican. Who are the owners who keep their own stable. You know, we're so called every day we're already, you know, Vatican. Vatican those are some parts. So the whole idea was coming until there are laws of war, you know. Going into other people was turned prisoners into captives. Branded people, so that Russia did capture the Ukrainians, they were decided to brand them and turn them into slaves. But we're going to respond to the rest of the world. But we try and have other people. So how we can also say that so that it's obviously we can stop export of achievement and what is on. So we can pick it up, a ritual that and live a life. Then you can come and say to something that can't hold it. And you can touch on it. You can yourself a chance. Now, the children of that baptism or ritual. Create more from that Christ name. We need to not have our Christ name without giving them a name that is indigenous to their home. So Christ name and baptism, most serious rituals. So like revisit. Revisit that in the past of this. But for this broadcast, the motivation of the home. I know that people are so connected to the body that sin and when that sin is very of the needs in the religious world. Then commanding the captivity, and then providing their soldiers. In the life of the sin. It's like everybody rising up to the modernity and know what God has done. You know, how God gave and how you show how you talk about the job like that in the church. And see where it pronounces the goal, the beneficiary, bringing the doctor. It's meant. Yes. Sorry. Never stop paying taxes. The institution. What I'm going. Okay, so I got by this session. Trying to find music and all what I have on there. Okay.
I'm saying this, you know, pay attention. There's a simple way to start bringing in cash, and all it takes is a Wi-Fi connection and 3 clicks. No complicated setups, no special skills, just a few trade most don't know about. Big companies sure ain't gonna tell you, because it cuts into their profits. But that don't matter, because it's working right now.
Okay, see what I have on your home. If I have put about it, we'll set up. Revolution set up. Alright. I'm going to try.
But that don't matter, because it's working right now. Want to see how? Calculate what?
I'm showing you all.
That's due to overusing anesthesia for repeated surgeries. In one of her viral videos on social media, Abby says she has spent over 4 million Chinese yuan. That's more than $500,000 US on cosmetic surgeries. The number is still going up and up. I don't think I'll ever stop trying to be more beautiful. Abby has been documenting her changing appearance over the years. A photo of her at 14, before any procedures, shows her natural beauty and a vibrant personality. Abby looks a little different in this 2019 photo, when she was awarded Beauty Personnel of the Year by So Young. Her lower eyelid has become lower, her face more plump because of fillers, or looks more polished and doll-like. After So Young was set up, I started sharing my journey of before, during, and after surgeries on that platform. Her openness has won her hundreds of thousands of followers on social media and beauty apps like So Young. Beauty influencers like Abby help other patients decide which clinics and doctors to go for. People used to see those who had plastic surgery in a negative way. There was a real lack of information when I started having surgeries. I realized that my experience was helpful to others. Few people were doing it back then. Plastic surgery turns you into a monster before it makes you pretty. Nobody wanted to leave photos of themselves looking like monsters on the internet. But not everyone's experience is sailing. In a silky cream traditional long dress, Galio poses gracefully at the desk. It's decorated with Chinese calligraphy and a bamboo vase. Look that way, the photographer tells her. Great, don't move. An assistant is carefully pointing a fan at her, making her long, silky hair gently blow in the wind. Photo shoot over. It's time to review the images the actress wants for her social media. Did you make my eyes bigger? She asks the editor. And can you extend the tip of my nose? A few clicks later, and is transformed. In real life, cosmetic surgery has left her nose uneven. I had no idea that surgery would ruin my career as an actor. Everything changed the moment I walked out of the operating theater. Galio was filming a comedy show when a friend suggested she get a nose job. She had just had a nose job and she looked great. She said I should do it too because my nose didn't look good from certain angles. So I was tempted. I wanted to change. I wanted to become more beautiful. I think the really pretty and photogenic actresses always look flawless from any camera angle. I've always held myself to high standards. Her friend recommends a surgeon called He Ming, who at the time was working at a clinic called She's Times. I chose She's Times, a clinic in Guangzhou. It's popular with influencers. Dr. He Ming was the chief surgeon. My friend said Dr. He was great and could create any style of nose. I trusted her and the doctor, so I didn't do any research on the clinic or the doctor. The procedure she selects is called rib cartilage nose surgery. It will involve taking a small piece of cartilage from her rib to extend the tip of her nose. It's October 2020 when Galio goes in for nose surgery. Two of her friends come along with her. The whole process is documented. There's a shot of her fully anesthetized just before the operation. Her blue sheet Claudio is showing a video of Dr. Hermine giving an injection to the bridge of her nose. It's shot at an angle to the back of the doctor, wearing a blue medical gown and a face mask. Claudio asks about the injection. He doesn't really answer and says it's to treat the liquid building up in her nose. Then there are photos just after the operation. Her face and lips are visibly swollen, and the tip of her nose is blood red. I was unrecognizable and it shocked my face. I had to stay in the hospital to be monitored for 72 hours. The clinic said I needed antibiotic injections. Then things get worse. This photo was taken 7 days after the surgery. The tissue on my nose is dying and turning black. After 7 days, they finally transferred me to Guangzhou Southern Hospital, a top public hospital. Doctors there tell her that too much tissue was taken from her nose. Blood could no longer reach the tip. 3 months after the operation, as the scabs fall off, her nose becomes shorter and uneven. I was so scared, I broke down. I thought I was going to lose my nose. I had no. This love gonna get me done, just like a fever. I wanna be your man. I want you to understand. I wanna be your man. You look so hard to find. I've been searching such a long time. You look so hard to find. Yo no sé si voy a poner like more shine, yeah. When you're there, the guy you're so long, explosion, now we make it more shine.
I'm working on the front.
can look at Google Maps in our homes and look at different places, but I think the effort of actually going to somewhere which is special to us is a very important part of all human history.
I was inspired by the British Pilgrimage Trust to finally step out and do something I think I absolutely innately didn't know what I was going to do. I remember going to Santiago de Compostela, the right by plane, and just feeling huge envy for the dusty little places they stumbled in for Camino. And you know, I watched the and so when I finally did walk a beautiful dog, it's the old way, I walked the Russian Broadway from Southampton to Canterbury. And set up the British Pilgrimage Trust, I was realising something that I really needed in such a simple and yet such a huge thing. It's a way to lose myself and then find myself again by setting out a more distant and significant shrine, whatever that might be. For me, it was Canterbury Cathedral and the extraordinary power of that spiritual region, but the second pilgrimage I walked was with the destination of the maternity ward at John Radcliffe in Oxford, where my daughter was about to have her first baby. In fact, she went into labour early and cut short my programme, walking from Prostatic down Offers Dyke.
That sounds amazing, but I've been to places like Lourdes over the years, and of course I've been to Rome, but not really on pilgrimage. I was there either for vacation or to play a concert. But I think this idea of making an effort, I mean, Emma sort of began to touch on this, is part of it, isn't it? I mean, it's not just sort of going somewhere in a car, it's actually having blisters on the feet is part of the experience. And I suppose it's related to the idea of penance, you know, that you actually are giving something up. Like some of us, not me actually, have been giving up something during Lent.
I had to tell everyone I was going to do that first walk, because I was perfectly certain I was going to chicken out. I guess it's a slightly unusual thing, which is a self-imposed discipline of setting a really quite challenging task and fulfilling it and finding it to be the most liberating and exciting. I mean, it's the oldest thing, isn't it? Discipline is freedom, and focus is incredibly precious and not really much part of our lives now. So spending a whole month focused on a distant destination is a very strange thought. Certainly at the end of it, I felt about a foot taller and a very strong sense of something clarified, something achieved.
I do sort of think going to a concert is a bit like a pilgrimage, isn't it? We can stay at home and listen online, but actually there is an effort involved in getting on the tube or getting in the car and going to a concert hall. And in fact, Wagner made this very much what he wanted to do in Bayreuth. I mean, you know, he wanted people to see Bayreuth as a pilgrimage, that you had to get there, and then when you were there, boy, it wasn't going to be necessarily comfortable, but at the end you would have had some extraordinary numinous experience.